Hello, this is the Provoked Prawn, and this is the Corsair Virtuoso Pro. This is a flagship device from Corsair, an open back headset with a serious price tag, but also some premium features and highlights to it that I'm going to get into in this video, where I'm going to be unboxing the headset and showing what's included in the box and talking to you about the various different features. I'm also going to be using the microphone throughout the entirety of the voiceover, so you can hear everything that the microphone offers and some of the downsides, one of which is the mouth wind, so you can hear some of my breathing probably as we talk through what this is like to use, and I'll talk a bit more about that later on. But inside the box you get the headset in a nice little carry case, nice solid design to that, and obviously immediately some premium features there, and it should be because it is an expensive headset. Now, this is open back, as I said, and that design essentially allows for a more natural soundscape and doesn't offer as much noise cancellation in terms of passive noise cancellation, but I want to talk about that in a second. You'll see once you've got everything out of the box, you have multiple different cables included in here, which means it will work with several different devices. Now, this is obviously a 3.5mm headset, so it will work with PC, Switch, laptops, phones, whatever will take a 3.5mm connection. Some immediate interesting highlights include, for example, the hidden Corsair logo underneath the speaker tags. I found this curious because Corsair usually likes to show off not only its RGB lighting, but its logo, and they've hidden it under these user replaceable speaker tags. That was noted in the reviewer's guide that these are user replaceable, and so I'm thinking they're probably going to offer some customization options for this in the future. You can see this design is that open back finish, so basically you can see the rear of the driver and the inside workings of the headset from the external side, and the reason for this is it gives a more airy sound, and that's what you get with open back design. Interesting that they have this swappable speaker tag system though, because there don't seem to be any current offerings in terms of custom speaker tags or new designs available, and I've asked Corsair about it, but they haven't really given an answer yet. So potentially upgradable in various different ways, and you can take off other things, including the top padding on the headband and the Corsair logo that you'll see at the top as well. You'll see that the Earcups have that nice twist and turn design to them, and it's very similar to the previous Corsair Virtuoso headsets, except of course it doesn't have a USB connection, so it doesn't have a USB cable, and it doesn't offer the same sort of connectivity in terms of the surround sound offering there either. But it does have a nice solid extendable headband and a pretty good premium finish to it. It is interesting in various different ways in that the padding and the materials they've chosen are more of a fibre material than your classic faux leather, and obviously it makes sense for open back. Unfortunately, they've maintained that same round Virtuoso Earcup design, which I don't like, but it does twist off, so you can replace them. However, others have noted that this isn't the same shape as the original Virtuoso, so if you're hoping to replace them with pads that you might get for the Virtuoso, they won't work with the Pro variant because it's a slightly different design in the way it hooks on. In terms of size, it's just sadly just 6cm across, and that really isn't very big. These Earcups are not very wide, and that round design means that they're quite small, and I find, just like with the Virtuoso, that they squash my ears on the top and bottom, and also just unfortunately that the depth isn't enough, so that's around 2cm on the Earcup design there, and again that means that my ears are also touching the drivers on the inside. It's a real shame. I wish they'd do deeper, bigger Earcups. I don't think I've got particularly large ears, but it's real an issue in terms of comfort. However, I didn't find that it was actually as much of a problem as with the original Virtuosos, which is curious, but I still don't find these particularly comfortable, and the finish on the Earcups is quite scratchy as well. I don't really like the design. I feel the material is a bit scratchy. I wish they'd gone for a more soft velvety one, or faux leather, but then faux leather doesn't make sense with open back. So if you don't mind that, obviously you're not going to get as hot ear, so that's something to bear in mind, and there is some sound bleed to consider as well, but we'll get to that in a little while. Now the headset offers multiple connection options. As I said, you have 3.5mm cables included in here, one of which has the microphone on it. You'll see that mic here, and obviously, as I said, I'm doing the sound test with the microphone now, so you can hear the microphone quality, and it is Virtuoso level. Obviously it's going to depend on what you're plugging it into. I currently have it plugged into the motherboard directly on my PC, so it's going to vary. If you're using it on console or some other device, the quality might not be the same. It really depends on the sound card, for example, but the capture quality of the microphone is undeniably good, thank goodness. Virtuoso mics have always been really good, and that's one of the biggest selling points for the Virtuoso lineup for me, and it continues here. You have a mic mute button, which is a little bit fiddly to access, and it's on the connection itself, and you can just flip between those. Downsides, obviously, is no side tone as standard, so you can't hear yourself through the microphone, although you can hear yourself still because it's an open back design, so it is easy enough to hear your own voice, but there's no mic monitoring through the mic itself, which is one downside, and that's something to keep in mind. And as I said, there is some mouth wind problems as well, but there is a windshield included in the box. Now it connects in, and you can see it just plugs in to the headset in that way, and you have a cable for both sides, so both cables will plug in, one on each side. One downside I have found, however, is that the cable material is very noisy, and I do find that if it rubs on my clothing it really picks that up, which is a big downside for me, and that is also sometimes carried through into the microphone. And you'll find that this material is the same on all of these. Now it does feel like a premium material, like hard wearing, durable. It's not easily going to get damaged, but unfortunately it's quite loud. Now, interestingly, the tips of the 3.5mm connection, you'll note there's a slight difference on the left and right one. The right has a circular finish on it, sort of ridge around the top, and the left one has some sort of flat notches on there. This is actually quite useful because it means that you can work out which headset to plug the cable into, obviously, alongside the left and right markings on both the ear cups and on the connections. But it also means that you can push it in and make sure it's clipped in properly, especially with that left connection. So if you find you're not getting good sound, it's probably because you've tried to put the cables in the wrong ear cups, or that you've not seated it in properly, because that obviously means you have to push it in and just notch it into the hole, as I'll show you. This is a nice little highlight and a small little detail to the headset's designs. There's obviously some elements that have been cleverly thought about here with the overall design of it and how it works, but it could be a user problem. If you see here, for example, if you just push the left one in, doesn't go in all the way, you have to make sure it's turned and facing the right direction. But for some reason it's not like that on the right hand side, so it doesn't notch in quite so well. But they are obviously removable and replaceable with relative ease. Something to bear in mind though, if you do want to try and swap out the cables, is that the 3.5mm connection obviously has that special notch on it, so you won't necessarily be able to replace them, which is a shame, because as I said, the biggest issue probably for me is just the noise that you get out of these. If you're not going to use the microphone that comes with this headset, you can instead plug 3.5mm connection into external device like the Wave XLR to mic monitor an external microphone, or into a USB microphone if you've got a standalone one, if you don't like the quality of it. And so you can then transform these gaming headphones into standard headphone. They look really understated, obviously, and very nice looking. They're not classic gamer, they don't have loads of RGB lighting. They will work with other devices too, obviously. With that single finish connection, you can then plug into a Steam Deck or a Switch or something else like that with relative ease. And the cables are nice and long. I haven't got any complaints about the length of the cables that are included. They're not too long, they're not too short. It's not tugging for me personally. You can see the length here with the Steam Deck, so it's nice and easy. And if you need it, there's also this splitter cable, so you can plug that in, and then that will split the connections on the other end to 3.5mm for mic in and line out on your PC, or a headphone jack. So if you've got a PC where you require two different connections, you can do that, and that's how I'm doing it now for mic monitoring purposes. Now, in terms of the fit on the head, it's got a nice fit to it. I found it's actually pretty comfortable in terms of the way it fits, as It's a pretty lightweight, well-designed headset. The padding on top's really nice. The padding on the ear cushions, despite what I said about it being uncomfortable and scratchy, it is actually quite plush. So they do give you some good cushioning there, which is nice. The downsides I have found, there are some silly downsides that I want to note, is if you're not using the microphone, so if you've got the mic on, it's not a problem, but if you're not using the microphone, you just use the two cables without the mic, I have found I've accidentally sometimes put the headset on the wrong way around. That's because the headset doesn't actually have any discernible way to tell which cup is which, so which is left and right, without looking on the inside of the headband to see where the left and right connections are. So if you've just plugged your cables in, obviously you need to make sure which cable you're plugging in where, because it has that notch on it, as I've said. But once that's in, if you just grab the headset and go to put it on, it's really easy to accidentally put it the wrong way around, because there's no controls on the headset itself. There's no volume control on the ear cups or anything to discern which way around it is. So watch out for that. The headset weighs 342 grams, which means it's really lightweight, and thanks to that padding, is actually very comfortable. It's easy to wear for hours. I've used this for hours and hours and hours without any problems, and in terms of comfort, it does tick those boxes if you like sort of a lightweight design. It's not the lightest open back headset around by any stretch of the imagination, but it's also not really heavy. And because you've got those breathable ear cups and a nice padding on the headband, it is comfortable. I didn't find I was getting too hot, and it was great in various different ways. Now, in terms of gaming, I found it really actually quite delightful in a number of different games. I've been using it with my Rodecaster Pro 2, as you can see here, but also plugged in a 3.5mm so I could give some tests in various different ways, and I found that it does deliver a really good soundscape. The bass is decent, the sound has a nice open and natural sound to it because of that open back design. It is good for music and TV watching as well, and just for gaming I found it really good. Obviously it's a stereo headset, so you're not going to get any surround sound as standard unless you're using something like Dolby Atmos or something else. But if the game has been well coded in terms of the audio design, then you will find that you've still got a really good audio experience out of this headset. I don't have any complaints there. One thing I will note as well is that it's insanely loud, so the headset actually will crank up really loud. So if you like to listen to things loud, which you shouldn't, look after your eardrums, but you can. And I actually did find that I had to run this on like about 30% volume, because otherwise it was too loud, and that actually speaks to how good the drivers are. It has graphene drivers in them, which is the new thing that everyone's doing at the moment, and Logitech's just done that with their G Pro X2 wireless headset as well. So Corsair's followed suit with some solidly designed drivers which are actually really capable, fantastic sounding, and a good experience. Now, one of the things that is interesting, obviously with that open back design, is there is potential for some sound bleed. So if you are the sort of person that likes to listen to things quite loudly, or you're playing in an environment where there might be people nearby, you might be concerned about the sort of bleed of sound out of it, and that's basically how much sound of your game or whatever else you're doing escapes from the ear cups and is available for other people to listen to. So just for a minute, I've got a quick clip where I cranked up the sound here so you can hear it, and you will see that there is some sound bleed from it. Overall, I'm really pleased with the experience of Virtuoso Pros. I unfortunately wouldn't get them personally because I don't like the scratchy ear cups, and the pressure on my ears is a bit too much in terms of that comfort. However, if you do like that open back design, it is good. And I have actually also found, weirdly, that it doesn't let in as much external noise as you might think. So with open back design, you'd expect that passive noise cancellation would be terrible. You'd hear a lot of surrounding environmental noise and things like fan noise from your PC and other things like that. I actually haven't found that. I haven't found there's much interruptions to my gaming experiences because of it. So it's been a great headset for a variety of reasons. It is pretty expensive though, so that's worth noting. And there are perhaps more exciting options out there for the money, and I'll leave links in the description to some of my faves so you can go check those out.
You've made it right to the end of the video, you brilliant legend you. If you've enjoyed it, click that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and drop me a comment down below if you've got any questions. If you really enjoyed it, consider joining the channel and see the benefits of doing so. Check out these other videos. You might well find them interesting or useful. And most importantly, have a great life.